Hello guys, this is JRTV. Just wanted to show you an amusing sight. Don't touch, and there's this huge, contraption in the back of this truck, and I mean this is quite a scene there. So I want to share good news. I've done some research on quote-unquote shopaholism, which I consider to be a negative influence or interference in my life, and so here are some tricks to transcend shopaholism, or in other words, overspending, or irresponsible spending. First, you have to think of things as first you have to determine your actual goal. Like if you have a stronger goal, like to save up for something, then you will save up for it. Like, let's say you always spend money and then you want to, save for a laptop or a vacation, whatever. You'll end up, you will save for it. It takes a goal. Part of, I think, a goal is just to have some basic amount of money. Like, I don't know, depending on the person. If it's a family, maybe it's an emergency 10 grand or 20 or 30, I don't know. It also depends on your monthly expenses. You should, be able to live, I don't know, maybe 6 months, maybe a year on emergency savings if you lose a job or what have you. And for somebody like me, who I operating out of my storage, cell phone, bus pass, my monthly expenses aren't more than $300 a month, and therefore, I may spend more than that, but I could survive on $300 a month. So if I save up, $2,000, for example, then that could be my emergency savings for, what is that? That's 1,800 would be 6 months, right? So 3 times 6 is $1,800, right? So if I saved up 2 grand, that should cover me for like half a year. Just as a for instance. Some other ideas, though. Shopaholics, one useful trick is to not think of yourself as being entitled to stuff. Like when I overspend and whatnot, it's because I think I'm special, or I work hard, or whatever I do, I deserve it. And if I run into problems like need emergencies, like $500 hospital visit, or contact lenses, or a taxi ride to the hospital, or say I need money for my cell phone bill, I don't have it, then perhaps other people should pay for it. And even though I don't think of that on a conscious level, on a subconscious level, I may have this entitlement mentality, and that may be an element to my spending, inappropriately. And another part of it is that I in particular, I shop on, I like clothing, and it may be that I'm trying to gain credibility or respect, or recognition for myself and perhaps my websites, and I've made the connection between wearing and having nice things to gaining respect or recognition for my website. And the truth is, maybe there are other outlets to gain respect from myself, of myself and others, which include responsible habits, self-directed, self-controlled behavior. So what are some actual tips, though, to avoid spending? One's the 30-day rule, where you ask yourself, if you really need it, wait for 30 days and then re-examine it if you really want it. These spending is like you get a high, and so you get addicted addicted to that. One advice I would offer is try making it a less costly thing. Like, for example, clothing is actually pretty inexpensive compared to, if you're always wanting new things. When people 3 months after they buy a fancy car, they want a new one. So why not make it a less costly endeavor, which would include maybe having a habit of clothing instead of more lavish things like expensive restaurants or vacations or lifestyles. Like, you can consistently buy new and interesting things if you have less expensive habits. And most importantly is to think of things from your perspective of your future or current dream mate. This is a person that you sometimes you may have more respect for. You may have more respect for than even yourself sometimes. So think of this person. Imagine they're watching you, and there's a cool mantra I've been using. It's, I'm doing it for my future wife. I'm doing it for my wife. I'm saving money for my wife. And maybe I could say saving money for my future children or whatever it is. And remember, the idea of children isn't necessarily that they're biologically, your progeny. It's the idea of children is perpetuating your ideas into the future generations, your teachings. So, for example, if you think you have some moral strong points and you hope future generations are receptive to and embrace them, then you yourself will have to teach them. And it takes not only time to teach, but it takes some money too, because teaching is a luxury in that sense. Teaching is where you have to. What do you have to do? You have to, teaching certain things in life are luxuries. People don't realize things like marriage and intimacy with your spouse and child rearing and education instead of the child having to do child labor in like a poor country. These are luxuries that people seek. And for world peace, we're going to have to think about this stuff. We're going to have to consider these issues. In any case, thanks for tuning in. This has been a little breakdown on spending and some reasons not to spend. And there are better, if you Google it, there's some better details on the matter. Why do people are shopaholics? And the most important thing is to realize that to start what you identify with. Like, if people identify with, like I was saying, expensive things like cars or even clothing can be expensive or beyond your budget. And remember, not to worry about other people. Sometimes people will want to buy things to make other people feel good about them, or maybe to make other people feel afraid about them or intimidated. Like, examine and use some foresight. Imagine yourself using the vehicle. Let's say you want a fancy car, whatever. Imagine yourself, going through the motions and using it. And would it really be that satisfying? Like, realize that all the stuff that you wanted in the past, you may no longer want it, and it's likely that's going to always happen. That stuff is temporary, but there's something that's not temporary, and that is your stuff like exercise. It's always going to make you feel better. And creative work. Like, want people to remember you for the efforts you've done, not all the things that you have. So thanks for considering, and be you. Aloha. Remember the mantras too. That's a great idea to, when you're in tough times, say, I'm doing it for my wife. When you're, or your husband, when you're, in tough times, and share about your work and everything like that. Just, and don't let people interfere with your money. If there's problematic people at work, realize that if that interferes with your work, then it interferes with your money. You know, have respect for your money. Thanks for considering. Aloha.